How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And what do we have here? We had the Masters of the Universe Origins, Roboto, ZODAK, and MERMAN. Let's look at them all individually, starting with Roboto. Now, as for the packaging for all of them, including Roboto, it's going to be exactly the same. Masters of the Universe, their name, some explodey red rocks, shapely bubble holding the figure in place, and then on the back, that's where there's differences. In the case of Roboto, we have the individual to the character artwork on the top of the card, as we have with every single figure, as well as other figures that have been released in this series, including He-Man and Skeletor from Wave 1, and then the other figures from this wave, She-Ra, ZODAK, MERMAN. And on the one side, we also have all the instruction-y bits, like, ooh, he can turn at the waist, and his little mouthy-do opens, and he's got these 3 here arm attachments. Now let's get this guy out of his bubble. Here's the comic book that comes with him. I believe that it's different than from the Series 1 and Series 2 comic books. While I'm yakking, you can actually pause to read each page individual if you'd like to. Well, there's not really much to read, is there? It's just a lot of pictures going on here. Yeah, I don't think there was one word bubble. There wasn't even one word bubble. That was all action shots. And here is Roboto with his movable jaw that works when you use his waist like that. And it's cool. The gears, actually, just like with the original one, you can see him moving on the inside of the torso there. And they're what makes his mouth go up and down like that. And then you've got his little axy-do here. That's the first attachment. You've also got Roboto's grabby claw right there, and also his double-barreled laser cannon. In my humble basic opinion, I would say this is probably one of the best figures in the series so far. I love all of the detail-y details on his arms like that. You can see all the hoses and wires and bits and pieces. And again, I really like the inside here. For one, I love the fact that these gears actually move around on the inside and actually serve a purpose. And I'm just all about that, hey, look at that, we can see on the inside clear things life. Oddly enough, looking at him, I actually also kind of see Gizmo Duck from DuckTales. Do you see that? I see Gizmo Duck there. All he needs to do is replace his legs with a wheel. This fella does share the exact same legs as Man-E-Face's too. They both look like they're wearing football uniforms. Now, as for Roboto's articulation, you would look at him and go, oh, look at that. When you put his arms up, all of the little detail-y wires and hosey-doos get in the way of how far up he can lift his arms, but it actually has nothing to do with those. When I pull his arm out fully extended, you can actually see that it's already reached the end of its articulation point to begin with. So when I put it back in, there really is no difference. It's exactly the same. One thing that's very cool about these Motu figures is that although they look so much like the originals, and clearly they're not just updated molds, they really are re-sculpts. I love the fact that they do have that articulation that's been updated with the elbows that actually are posable and movable and they can rotate. I do wish that we had the spring-loaded action in the waist that we've had for so long with those classics. They sacrificed that, but you know what? I will take the ball joints in the groin and the knee articulation that we never had before, and I'll take the articulation right here at the top of the boot and the ankle articulation. Now, this really isn't that much to write home about, if we're being honest, but still, this I feel is a pretty darn good middle-of-the-road acceptable, hey, it looks like the old stuff, it's perfect for kids to play with and good for collectors as well, and it certainly has a lot more posability than the originals. And now on to ZODAK, a figure that, again, like most Motu figures, I never had as a kid, and now I feel like I'm 8 years old because I got him. We know what the front looks like, we turned the packaging around, and we can see that, again, there are unique to the character elements to the back here. For example, the artwork, as we can see, is unique to the character. He's just like hanging out behind a rock like, alright, He-Man, I'll let you deal with Skeletor, and I'll just, I'll hang back here. Just yell if you need me. I do wish that he came with a floaty chair. Like, I wish that ZODAK was part of a pack-in that had a chair. There's also instructions that they're like, hey, you could put the gun in his hand and you can, like, move his body parts around. Alright, let's yoink him out too. And here is ZODAK, a figure who clearly spent just the right amount of time in the tanning booth getting himself all bronzed up, and it's evident that this guy does not shave his back. Look at that, a lustrous amount of braidable back hair, as well as his chest. Oh my god. That's enough chest hair to make even He-Man jealous. Here's what his gun looks like. Let's give him his gun that doesn't have a trigger. There's no trigger. How does he pull the trigger? How do any of them pull the trigger, actually? Now, as far as I'm concerned, Zodak is a character who looks every bit as 80s as a figure can possibly look. Everything about the design of this guy, with his weird baseball umpire's vest that he wears, and then that helmet, come on. That is the coolest thing I've seen all day, and I've seen a lot of stuff today. I love the big black bug eyes on him. He really is a fantastic looking figure. I like this guy a lot. Who am I kidding? I say that about all the figures in this series. I love this series of figures so much. I feel like I'm 8 years old again when I buy these. Now, one thing I will warn you about these guys, and Zodak is a really good example of that. I'm trying to just fiddle with his articulation, and that is stuck. I'm talking, that is stuck in a rut. That ain't going nowhere. And the reason why I bring that up is because I actually had to buy a second Skeletor figure, that being this one here, on account of the fact that if you remember watching my first Mo2 figure review, Skeletor's arm broke off right in the middle of the review, and I barely did anything to make it break. And there's no reason for a toy that's made for a child, which is supposed to survive the child play test and the pull test, to have a limb that's been stuck break off in my hands when I'm trying to move it quite gingerly, to say the least. Which brings me to the point that I was mentioning, that his arm is stuck. So what you'll need to do is get a blow dryer or boiling water and loosen it first. Otherwise, guess what? It's gonna snap. Let's take his little harness off. I want to see just how hairy this man is. Yep, that is... My God. My God. This guy clearly does steroids and does not own a chest shaving razor. ZODAK is a figure that really also didn't need a whole lot of extra sculpted detail, because clearly they used the same forearms and boots as Skeletor. He's got the generic basic Mo2 legs all the way down to the boots, as well as that generic Mo2 belt and furry underwear. So far, I think it's just his head and his harness that have been newly sculpted for the figure. I don't have Beastman yet, but I got a funny feeling that Beastman probably has a furry chest too. And now we move on to that final score of the day, Merman. Blah, 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 same packaging. Turn the beast around. And then, of course, we had that unique to Merman artwork on the back where you could see him, he's swimming under the sea with his good friend, the pink octopus, the weird teethy snaky thing, and the really vicious looking fish. And then, of course, we've got the instructions just in case you don't know how to put his weapon in his hand or move around his body parts. Now let's get Merman out to play. With a corncob sword and a frowny mouth and two eyes that really bulged. And here we have Merman. No, that background sucks. Let's change the color. There, that's better. I feel like Merman stands out better against a purple background than he ever did against the blue. I feel like the blue and the green were too similar. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't know a whole lot about Merman. Just like most of the Mo2 characters, I watched the cartoon as a kid, but I've never given the show a rewatch as an adult, so I can't really say this figure embodies the character of Merman just wonderfully, because I honestly don't know. This is cool. I do wish there was some shading or something like that going on here, but remember, this is a kid's toy, and the kid's stuff never had the shading either. Merman's face, yep, that's a face only a mother could love. Look at the teeth, though. I gotta give Merman some credit there. Those teeth look exceptionally clean. I don't know where he finds a toothbrush underneath the water, but maybe he doesn't need one. Maybe he genetically has just naturally yellowish, whitish, but clean-looking teeth. Certainly a very green-looking figure. Let's take off Merman's, there you go. There goes the harness. And, yep, it's stuck on my finger. There we go. He's just very, very, very green. It's funny that he looks like a fish from this side, or like a fish cat, and then from behind, he's actually got hair. Merman clearly has hair. I don't think Merman actually has hair in the comic book. Okay, he's in that picture. Where else do we see Merman? Is that it? Merman was only in one picture? That can't be right. One picture in the entire... Yeah, nope, that's it. Merman's only right here. Now, one thing we know for sure about Merman is he uses almost a complete body of extra parts, except for his head sculpt, which is his own, and his yellow battle harness apron thing. Everything else is actually, you know what? If you were to paint him purple, he has the exact same body, 100% as Skeletor. All right, let's go clubbing. Oddly enough, Skeletor's head doesn't look that bad on Merman's body. That's strange. Oh, the heads just pop right off too, by the way. No problems there. Now, as with my statement from before I opened these guys, I will say that Roboto is still my favorite out of the three, with Zodak coming in second, and then Merman taking up the rear. But honestly, I really love what Hasbro's doing by re-releasing all of these characters again, just with brand new sculpts that are super reminiscent of the kind that we had when we were children. You know that there's people who are massive Mo2 fans at Mattel. They're not just trying to cash in on a big classic Mattel cash cow, but they really do love the product as well. You can rest assured, whether you like it or not, hopefully you enjoy it, I will be reviewing as many of these figures on this channel as I possibly can, because it's like finding gold. It's like finding treasure in the toy aisle when you find these guys there. These guys make me want to go back and collect all the original ones from vintage toy shops. Oh boy, that could get expensive. Boku bucks. Anyway, everybody, I gotta go now. Have yourself a fantastic day and take care.